Last night in the NHL, the Great Eight, and that's another hat trick. Matt Murray gets the defending champions a win, and the Chicago Blackhawks look to be very dangerous. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Glenn, and welcome back to the channel. This is last night in the NHL, and we had a lot of games last night to cover, so we're going to get right into this. First game that happened that I was able to see, well, not catch, but watch. Well, I watched most of the highlights of this, so I'm just going to give you a rundown of the score here. My head is somewhat cut off, but I'm trying to fix it just a tiny bit. There we go. Last Avalanche headed to New Jersey, and the Devils wound up winning that one 4-1. Uh, Good. The Devils looked pretty fast yesterday afternoon, so they've got a lot of young kids that are going to help that team. The Rangers headed to Toronto, and Toronto won that game 8-5. Toronto had a 5-0 lead in this game and wound up blowing. The Rangers came back to tie it, and then Toronto was able to take a 3-goal lead. I believe the Maple Leafs had a 5-0 lead in that game, but the Rangers came back to tie it at 5, and then totally shit the bed as the Maple Leafs won that game 8-5. The Red Wings headed to Ottawa, and they wound up beating the Senators 2-1. So the Red Wings are 2-0 on the season. Second game of the Battle of Florida, the Panthers were able to hold off the Lightning 5-4. They give them that win. The Islanders headed to. The Sabres headed to Brooklyn to take on the Islanders. The Islanders wound up winning that game 6-3. Jonathan Tavares had 2 goals in that game, along with Casey Cizikas to give the Isles a 6-3 league, 6-3 win. The Penguins finally got on the board with a win last night, shutting out the Predators in the rematch of the Stanley Cup Finals from last year. Matt Murray stood on his head, gave the Penguins a 4-0 win. To finally get their first win of the year and get that monkey off their back after they were crushed by Chicago 10-1 in the last game. The Canadians headed to the nation's capital, and the Capitals not killed them, but beat the Canadians soundly 6-1. Alexander Ovechkin had 4 goals in that game. Alexander Ovechkin has, in the first 2 games in this season, has had 2 hat tricks. And that is the first time that is done in exactly 100 years that a player has scored a hat trick in the first 2 games of the year. So Alexander Ovechkin, he is really putting a stamp on, this is the year that I want to do something, and this is the year I think that the Capitals can do something in the playoffs and not choke. So we'll see what happens with the Caps coming forward. But he has 7 goals in the first 2 games of the season. That's phenomenal. The Wild headed to Carolina. The Carolina Hurricanes wound up winning that game 5-4 in a shootout. The Stars headed to St. Louis, and the Blues wound up beating the Stars 4-2. Not time to panic in Dallas, but they've lost their first 2 games. They lost their first game to the Golden Knights. Not time to panic, but if they lose the next game, they may not be able to turn around so much, and it may be a long season for the fans in Dallas. I hate to say that, as I like the Dallas Stars. The Blackhawks handily took care of the Blue Jackets 5-1. 15 goals in 2 games by the Blackhawks. That's really good. They look dangerous. They look like they can make another run to the Stanley Cup if they continue to play the way that they've played the last 2 games. Yeah, we're only 2 games in. We're only early in the season, so anything can happen. Injuries can happen. But from the looks of it, from the first week and the warmest weekend of the season, the Blackhawks look very, very dangerous. The Golden Knights go to Arizona and take care of the Coyotes 2-1 in overtime, and the Golden Knights have won their first 2 games of the year. Who would have thought that? And James Neal gets the game winner in overtime for the Golden Knights. The Jets go to Calgary and wound up losing 6-3. The Jets had a 3-1 lead in that game. Steve Mason is not the answer, Winnipeg. I'm sorry. He, as a Flyers fan, I know how he is. He is not the answer, and it's not just him. Your defense is just not that good. Your offense is good. I mean, you've got some players, Scheifele and all of them. Scheifele and Patrick Line, but your defense is going to be your downfall this year. And I hate to say that to the Winnipeg Jets fans. A good friend of mine, Terry, who lives outside of Winnipeg, is a diehard Jets fan, and she's just very upset. I'm sorry, Terry, if when you see this, that I tried to be nice, but your gold Steve Mason is not the answer for you guys. I'm sorry. Oilers head to Vancouver, and the Canucks beat the Oilers 3-2. That's a surprise. Vancouver is supposed to be in a rebuilding time this year. I was unable to catch the highlights of that game. Kings go to San Jose, and they beat the Sharks 4-1. So the Sharks are 0-2, and the Kings are 2-0. The Kings have looked very good. They beat the Flyers the other night 2-0. Jonathan Quick went in 2 games has only let up 1 goal. I mean, that's a mark of a Vezina Trophy candidate. So, and the final game on the board, the Flyers beat the Ducks 3-2 in overtime. And I'm not trying to be a homer about this, but that was a very good game. That is my game of the week, as the Flyers beat the Ducks 3-2 in overtime. As Wayne Simmons is not just his 4th goal of the year, he wins it in overtime. Ivan Provorov for the Flyers had a goal. Fowler and Vermette had the 2 goals for the Ducks, and Couturier scored the other goal for the Flyers. So a lot of games last night. Good bunch of games. The only team that was off last night was the Boston Bruins. So we could probably have that a lot coming up lately. I know there's only 1 game on the docket tonight, so tomorrow's episode may be really, really short. Yes. It is a nationally televised game for those. It's on the NHL Network in the United States. For those who live in the United States, as the Canadians head to New York to take on the Rangers. The game is at 7 o'clock, so that's the only game that's tonight. I'll be back tomorrow morning to cover that. I mean, maybe a shorter episode than today. But once again, your final scores: Devils beat the Avalanche 4-1. Maple Leafs beat the Rangers 8-5. Red Wings beat the Senators 2-1. Panthers beat the Lightning 5-4. Islanders beat the Sabres 6-3. Penguins beat the Predators 4-0. Capitals beat the Canadiens 6-1. Hurricanes beat the Wild 5-4. Blues beat the Stars 4-2. Blackhawks beat the Blue Jackets 5-1. The Golden Knights beat the Coyotes 2-1 in overtime. The Flames beat the Jets 6-3. The Canucks beat the Oilers 3-2. The Kings beat the Sharks 4-1. And the Flyers beat the Ducks 3-2 in overtime. My 3 stars of the night are Ovechkin, Murray, and Tavares. My friends, good night and good hockey.